All right, hey, what's up, guys? We have Mindy Lee here. She has shaken baby syndrome. So how's it going, Mindy? How you doing today?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks so much for having me on. I hope you have a great conversation today.
I'm good, no problem. Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, since this is the first time we've met, or met online over Zoom?
Yeah, my name is Mindy. I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is somewhat a big city. The main reason, I guess, why I'm here, I from a young age, I was diagnosed with something called shaken baby syndrome. It is something that is actually not very common, and if it is, like, people don't really put a name to it. And it's really just, shaking a baby to the point of unconsciousness. And sometimes there's bleeding in the brain. Sometimes, a lot of babies don't make it. And I am very thankful, very lucky to be alive today and fully functional. I work full time at a bank, and I live a normal life. I am very thankful for where I am today.
Okay, cool. And so was the shaking like intentional, or was it like unintentional, or can it happen
Oh,
both ways?
yeah, so for me, specifically, it was unintentional. I think for most adults who do the shaking, it is unintentional. Most of it is caused by the baby crying, the baby just most of it is just crying. And when you're high stress, you're not getting much sleep, stuff like that, like you kind of let your instincts just take over, and you just want the baby to stop crying. And but yeah, for most of it, it is unintentional.
But it can be kind of like an abuse thing
Oh, absolutely.
too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, of course.
yeah. So how old are you now,
I am
if you
25
don't
years
mind me
old.
asking?
Yeah, no, it's
Okay,
fine. Yeah,
great.
I'm 25. Yeah.
Yeah. And so how does it affect you today, like in your day and day to day?
So I guess I'll start from the beginning. So I was shaken at 4 months old. So I've had a lot of time to learn and adapt and grow and everything. But right now, so what happened? I was shaken pretty violently, so there was internal bleeding, sent to the hospital, and I won't bore you with all of, like, the super nitty-gritty details, but there was surgery involved, and, the right side of my body now is permanently disabled. Now there are varying degrees to the disability. A lot of people, can't walk, can't talk, but, it ranges from mild to very severe. Um, so in my case, it was kind of like a life-threatening thing. But it's taken me time, but I walked out of it pretty unscathed. I have a disability in which I really can't, like I said, I can't use the right side of my body very much. So it affected my vision, it affected my ability to use my right hand, and from a younger age, it um I had a limp for quite a while. I think the limp got a little bit better after a while because of, I have to walk everywhere and I have to, travel, so it got a little bit better. But one of the main things that I struggle with is using, just one of my hands to basically do everything. So that's, yeah.
Which is your right hand?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm left-handed because my right hand was um usually with shaking a baby, like the inside of your brain kind of gets, like, like, if there's bleeding. So, like, in my case, the left side of my brain was operated on, so the right side of my body was affected. Sometimes it's flipped.
Okay. And
Yeah.
do you know if you like would have been right-handed, but you kind of had to start
I
writing with your left
always
hand, or
Yeah, it's really funny that you asked that because I always wondered and I never knew because it happened to me at such a young age that it's not like I could have tested that at like 4 months old, like I can't, yeah. But I don't know, maybe.
Yeah. And yeah, because I mean, looking at you right now and talking to you, like you
Uh-huh.
seem totally fine. I wouldn't be able to
Right.
tell that,
Yeah.
I was kind of expecting maybe something a little bit different. I don't really
Oh,
know. Like
just
maybe like
curious. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I mean, I didn't look too far into it. I did look up like some pictures or whatever, and I looked up the word and what it meant. But I thought it
Mhm.
might. I didn't know how big of a disability it was, and it may be. I don't know, but
Yeah.
but yeah. So what do you do at the bank? What is your job?
So I am what's called a branch banker. It's an entry level job. Oh, excuse me, in which I open accounts, I service accounts, I close accounts. So I don't really handle like money or cash. Like so at the bank you have the teller and you have a banker. And the teller usually handles deposits, withdrawals, stuff like that. But I do a lot of servicing accounts, opening accounts, like people who have issues with fraud or things like that. So I help them with that, but I also offer them advice on what steps to take in their financial journey and like things like that. Yeah.
Okay, and are there things on the job that you're kind of maybe it affects you in certain ways, or
No, I mean, like I said, I've adapted. Typing on a computer was always a big deal for me. I play video games as well, and so that was, and we can talk about that later as well. But typing was always a big thing for me that was a problem because most people type with both hands. And I have learned over the years to type with one, and I actually type at the same speed as people who type with two. So that would be like really the main thing that would stop me physically. Now, of course, like if we get like bigger boxes and like shipment in for things like that, I'll have issues and I'll be a little slower. And I think that's the one of the main things with how I have learned to survive with shaken baby syndrome is like knowing that I can do it. It's just going to take me a little bit more time for me to do the same thing most people do.
yeah. So you
Yeah.
do type with only your left
Mhm.
hand
Yes.
completely, like you're kind of doing
Completely.
like a
Yep. Mhm. Yeah. And
wow.
it's yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I find typing to be hard with two
With
hands,
both
probably mostly just because at this point I'm just mainly using my phone, my iPhone, and so I'm so much more used to kind of, I guess,
the thumbs. Yeah. Yeah, with the
yeah,
thumbs, I actually don't use, when I'm holding my phone, like I type with one hand too. So I mean, yeah. I get that though. Like switching from phone keyboard to actual keyboard is a little, yeah, I would see how that's a little different.
yeah. I worked in an office for a bit, and I think that I was okay with using a computer. But yeah, like I said, since I've used my phone so much recently, now that when I go back to a computer, I like feel like I don't even know how to use it. And like I just bought a new computer kind of for this podcast, and I'm like,
Uh-huh. Oh,
I would just
nice.
prefer to do most stuff on my phone because it's just easier and I can do it in
It's
bed or
just so
whatever.
much easier on a computer. Exactly. Yeah, like when you're
Or no, it's for
editing, when
me,
you're
it's actually easier on the phone. And I think that's like totally different than most people, even like editing
yeah.
and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Huh. I wonder how that works.
It's Well, it's mainly, I think, like I said, just because for so long I didn't have like a good computer to use, and I was just never using my computer. And I think you can almost do everything now on your phone, besides like
Yeah.
serious editing of videos. Like, for
Right.
instance, this podcast, we have 2 to 3 hour long podcasts, and my
Right.
co-host is like wants me to like edit it down and like put in the intro. I'm like, I can't even do that like on a 2 to 3 hour
On
long
a
video
yeah, right.
on either on my computers, even because I don't have like a MacBook Pro. I just have like an HP. But
I mean, oh, really? That's interesting. I would think that Windows is actually better for editing than Mac, but I've started actually using MacBook. Like I'm on a MacBook right now. I was on an Android, like I have a gaming PC that's just Windows, and like I have little to low, like no like experience with MacBooks. So I would think that MacBooks would be less, you know, I guess not as good as a Windows computer, but all right.
The thing is that I don't know. I mean, I've heard that like MacBooks are good for art type stuff, I guess, like editing videos and like
Hmm.
drawing or whatever. But I think
Yeah.
it's managed. The computer that I have isn't a super expensive computer. It's like a $300 computer. I just went, I lowballed it.
I
But
mean, I guess,
anyways,
yeah, yeah.
what's up?
No, no, I was agreeing with you.
Yeah. But anyways, so yeah, so I found you on Reddit, and I think you said on there you kind of had some ideas for maybe how to handle this, the shaken baby syndrome, and ideas maybe for like disabilities in general. Did
Um,
right? Was there certain things you
s-
wanted to go over, or
yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I can definitely offer advice. I am in no means like a professional or anything like that. I'm also, this might be something that's, weird, but I'm also like trying to find a community of people out there who have shaken baby syndrome or anything like similar. So, anybody else out there who's listening, hit me up. Because I'm trying to build this community around it, because it's, you don't really look at someone and point to them and say, hey, you have been shaken, or I know you've been shaken. So I've always wanted to find people to communicate about it and just find support, because it can be really traumatic for somebody who was shaken, and like, especially for me, I think I didn't have as much support as I could have when I was going through it. um yeah.
and like what was the main period that you would say you like needed support?
I so probably like elementary school, more so elementary and middle school, more towards high school, I learned to come out of my shell and quote unquote love myself a little more. And now I'm at the point where I can talk about it freely and, do a lot more with it. But I think, as a kid, like, you don't really think about, like, you care a lot about what other people think about you. And it's like, I think that's how I looked at it. But for me, it would have been like middle school, like elementary school. I basically, there was a period of time where I had to go to therapy a lot, like physical therapy, occupational therapy, and eventually, like, I still go to a therapist to this day. Um, but you know, I didn't have a lot of friends when I was younger. And I think I don't know if it was partially because I was trying so hard to make friends. But people looked at me and, oh, it's the girl with the weird hand, or oh, she's limping, or, I also had a leg brace. So every single time, we'd be in gym class, like I would be wearing shorts and I'd still have to wear the brace, and, kids can be mean. So I think dealing with other people was hard for me as a young kid, but I think a lot of other people can also relate to that. So
Yeah, I would imagine that like high school and like you said, junior high are probably the hardest times for really anybody,
mhm.
because there's so many kids are just mean, and at
Right.
that age. And it's funny because like when you get the older you get, it's almost like the more like nicer people get, it seems like
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it also created a lot of like general anxieties and depression, especially when I got older, because eventually you start to date and you start to form friendships and stuff. And I think dating, especially for me in high school and going into college, was a hard time for me because of it. And like, of course, like, people, I think as you're growing older, like you said, people get nicer, but like it was a mentality for me that was always like, oh my god, like there's this guy that I like and I have to worry about how I look and how I act, and then I, on top of like having this disability as well. So that was also a big problem for me.
Yeah. And would you say that now, because of therapy and everything, you're somewhat, you're to the point now where it's not affect like that type of thing is not affecting you as
I mean, I think
much,
it
like
definitely, yeah, I think it definitely still affects me sometimes, but definitely not as much. Like I said, I've learned to love myself a lot more than even in high school. Like, I was in high school in 2015, and like I started high school in 2011. I graduated in 2015. So like it's been, in the 6 or 7 years that I've been out of high school and into college and stuff. Like I think it's definitely changed. It's gotten better, but I still have bad moments.
Yeah. And where did you go to college?
So I went to Duquesne University. I graduated 29. I graduated actually in 2020 because my freshman year, I had to take a little bit of like a hiatus. It was like a 1 year hiatus because of all the anxieties of going into something new. I had a lot of problems with school and just like, yeah, stuff like that. But yeah, I graduated
Yeah.
in 2020.
So like you just kind of missed the whole COVID thing. Like you just graduated
Yeah,
right
it
before
was,
like
yeah,
COVID
it was
started.
barely, it was like actually a few months before COVID started. And then all of like my friends, some of my friends are a year younger than me, and they kind of got screwed because they were right in the thick of it. So yeah, a lot of my friends didn't have graduation ceremonies because of it. But yeah, I caught it right before.
Yeah, and I've even talked to some people who like were going to school, then COVID happened, and like it was just I think mainly one person that I worked with, and she just like stopped going. I was like, "Are you still going?" She's like, "No, I just like dropped out because COVID was so bad." I
Yeah,
guess. I mean,
yeah,
I know
it's
you
just
can
so bad.
do, I know you
Right.
can like they were still doing online stuff, I guess, right? So you could probably still finish online, but she
I
wasn't
know,
going like
but
actually up there. Yeah.
I honestly, I specifically me, I like being in a classroom. I like being in person. I think virtual learning is fine. It's nice, but you don't get the full experience of everything if you're just virtual. But I mean, it works. I mean, a degree is a degree, right? So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
at this point, like in my life, if I was to go back, I would probably, I agree with you. When I was younger, I would have wanted to go to class, but now that I'm older, I'm like, I'd probably rather just like do it online if I can, because I don't really want to have
Mhm.
to like go back to school, you know?
Yeah.
But what did you major in
I
there?
majored in accounting.
Okay, I actually wanted to
Yeah.
major in accounting
Don't.
and couldn't. No, I couldn't.
Don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so well, first of all, Duquesne, is that in Philadelphia?
It's actually
Or
it's in Pittsburgh.
sorry,
It's all right. Yeah, no problem.
yeah,
It's in
Pennsylvania.
Pittsburgh. So it's like so in Pittsburgh, two of the main colleges around here are University of Pittsburgh and then Carnegie Mellon University, which is one of the Ivy Leagues. So Duquesne kind of gets pushed into the corner, and it's like, okay, but no, it's a Spirit Catholic school. I actually went to a high school, all girls private Catholic high school as well. So it just like it kind of was like the natural stream of things. I got a scholarship and just ended up going to Duquesne.
Okay. And are you Catholic now?
I am not. So I thought I wanted to be in middle school. Well, not in middle school, sorry, in high school. I never got like baptized or like confirmed or anything like that. My family is actually not even religious whatsoever. But they thought it was just a better alternative to the public schools here. But no, I'm agnostic. I don't really practice in any kind of religion or anything like that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I said Phil or wait, yeah. I always get
No, you're
Philadelphia and
fine.
Pennsylvania mixed up. I get like the city and
Well,
the
yeah,
state.
because Philly, I was gonna say, because Philly's in Pennsylvania, and then
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
because when you think about it, because Pennsylvania is kind of like you have Pittsburgh and then you have Philly, and then like everything in between. So yeah, that's how I think of it.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times I say Philadelphia when I mean Pennsylvania. But yeah, so the accounting thing. So when I
Uh-huh.
started this was a while ago too now, but when I started in college, I wanted to major in computer science. I took two classes, and the second class I wasn't able to get through it. Like most stuff in school, I'm like pretty good with, and I don't have to try too hard. But like I literally just couldn't get through it. So then I was like,
Right.
maybe accounting. I only took one accounting class, couldn't get through that, and
Oh,
then I ended up my last year at the junior college. I ended up like going back, or no, I ended up going back actually after I graduated to be like, let me give accounting a try again, and I just could not get through it. And I've talked to people who are like,
I
I've talked to
Yeah,
people
no.
who are like, it's not that hard. I know it is
Oh,
hard. I think it's hard, but I've talked to people who are like
it
my
depends on the
doctor
person.
friend. Yeah, who's like,
Uh-huh.
it's not that hard. And I was like,
It definitely
it
depends
was
on the
for
person.
me. Yeah. So how was that for you?
Well, I think from when I was little, I have always enjoyed math, which is like really strange for a lot of people. They're like, "Oh my God, you like math? Like that's so weird. Like no one likes math." But like, no, I enjoyed the problem solving. I enjoyed getting a problem and being able to figure out the answer. And um, I in high school, I actually wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to go into early childhood education and teach like something like algebra 1 or like geometry or something. So I could still, you know, so I could still do math, but I also wanted to teach really bad. And I still do, still thinking about if maybe I should go back to get my teaching certificate. But anyway, yeah, but I wanted to go in education and stuff. But then about around the time that I was going into college, everyone basically advised me not to because the market for it was like there was just no room for teachers really because either you go to like middle of nowhere or like you just can't get a job. So I went into accounting and I was like, okay, maybe along the lines I can do something with that. And so here I am, ended up at a bank. But it's also like my first job um that I'm thinking about moving out of soon because I've been here for almost 2 years now. So yeah, I'm looking at other jobs now
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
So in your job, like, do you need is it the type of job where like you need an accounting degree, or does it use accounting in it, or not really?
No, it's really funny you asked that because I feel like a lot of jobs, and this is just any job in general, I feel like the degree that you get doesn't really like it's not like, oh, you're an accountant, you have an accounting degree, you have to get an accounting job. But I mean, there's definitely like arithmetic. Like I think the most that I have to do at this job is like count, like it's just basic arithmetic, like calculus, like differential calculus, like pre-calc geometry, anything like that. Like I don't use any of that at my job at all. Like it's really just, hey, can you do math? Like, can you do basic, addition, subtraction, multiplication? Yeah. So that's really about the only math that I have to do. I do a lot of problem solving, but yeah, it's not like math problem solving.
Did you have to take a lot of those types of math classes, like calculus and above calculus, in college for accounting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And uh, I don't understand why. I mean, I guess it's just like the curriculum or whatever, but yeah, I took algebra 1, algebra 2, I did calc 1, calc 2, I did differential calculus. I learned a lot about like law as well. So like we had our business core classes, like I took like business law, there was like a tax class, because accounting with like if you want to be like I don't know, a CPA, you basically deal with taxes all day long. So yeah, I mean, I had to take a lot of these really high upper level math classes to be able to graduate, but I don't use any of that at my current job.
Yeah, I actually like I was able to get I don't even know if I'd call it accounting, but I was able to get like a entry level accounting job. Well, like first, so I graduated. I actually graduated college, went to
Mhm.
go work at Big Five as like an assistant manager, and then
Oh,
I
there
was like, I
you
want to
go.
get. Well, I was like, I want to actually get into like an office job. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want
Yeah,
to be in retail.
the 9 to 5, yeah, that stuff.
Yeah. So then I got like
Hmm.
an entry level accounting job, and it was just kind of by luck. I did that for like 2.5 years. I liked it. It was really entry level accounting, like posting payments and stuff, just kind of like entering in
Ah,
data, I
yes,
guess.
the data entry and the debits and credits. I know all
Yeah.
about that. Yeah.
But then after that, I couldn't get a job in accounting. Like that was like right during the 2008 to 2013 crash or whatever, the recession.
Oh, like the recession. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I just was not able to get any type of like decent job throughout that whole period. But I've always wanted to try and go back to accounting because I like math. I'm good at math. Like, but it's like
Right.
it was more like high school math than it was when I got into
Like up.
college, of calculus and all that kind of stuff, and even accounting. And
It went.
accounting, I think it was more of the issue of like the words with the math, like it was like like word problems. I'm not very good at word problems because it was like confusing to me, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so do you work for a bank? Are you at like the retail bank level or whatever, or is it like a
Yep.
corporate bank? Yeah.
Well, it's a really big bank in Pennsylvania. We're like we were founded in Pittsburgh. And then we're all up and down, we're up and down the East Coast. We're in like the middle of like the middle, what do they call it? Central America or Central America. I don't know what they're called. The middle section of
Central
America.
United States, I guess. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's embarrassing. I'm not good at geography at all. And
I
then
don't
like
even know what
we're
if they have a word for that. Yeah. Central United
I thought
States,
it
I
was I
guess.
thought it was like Central America, but I also think that's like I don't know, whatever. Anyway, and then
Yeah.
we're slowly trying to like move into the West, because we don't have any branches in like California or Oregon and like in Washington or anything like that. But yeah, we're mainly an East Coast branch. I work in the retail level, which means my job is to basically service like customers coming in for accounts, for credit cards, for loans. I actually recently got certified to open up like loans and like help people apply for loans too. So we're like, yeah, we're very retail banking. But
Yeah.
I believe we are a corporate bank. Like we have corporate offices and everything like that.
Yeah.
So
And so going back to the shaken baby syndrome thing,
yeah.
not thing, but
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean.
yeah, yeah. What would you call it, like a shaken baby syndrome? I guess it's just shaken baby syndrome, right? It's yeah, I didn't know if it was like, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's SBS for short. You know, you're a survivor. I mean, I don't really know if there's like, I mean, yeah, you're a survivor of SBS. I don't even know if there's like an actual like name for it, but I think that's just the medical term is just shaken baby syndrome. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
and go
In
ahead.
terms of that, like how are there how would you like you kind of mentioned you know, maybe understanding if like somebody has it, because most people don't know if somebody has it or not. Like how would I kind of like recognize it if I saw that somebody had it? And then also like what maybe should I do about it?
So
I don't know if that's a weird question, but you know what I mean? Probably just do
no,
nothing, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I mean, you can't really do anything about it most of the time if you're fully functional. Um, it will range from like, I mean, honestly, most people who look at me, they don't actually recognize anything unless you really look at me. But one hand will look like normal, and then one will be kind of like, I mean, I don't know, this is like not the medical term for it, but like kind of like shriveled or like clenched, like and then all yeah, like it's actually really interesting too because I don't really know like um I only am going like based off of my experience with it. So with how I have survive from it, like it's really just, I mean, if you see like a limp, if you see you know, like one hand isn't as reactive or responsive, or like, you know, if you see somebody working with mostly one hand, or like anything like that as well. Walking long distances is actually really difficult for me too, because I'll get blisters on my feet because my foot kind of is crooked. I don't know if that makes any sense, because like when you put your foot in your shoe, like it's supposed to just go, and it doesn't hurt or anything, but like if I walk long distances, it'll like kind of shift, and then that like little like part of your foot will just rub against the shoe, and then I usually get a blister. But that you can't really see that because it's your foot in your shoe. But most of it is just going to be like your hand is not as reactive as your dominant hand. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does. I'm just kind of wondering if um you know, like how noticeable it would be if I saw someone like it sounds like if like you said if somebody's only working with one hand or the other, then that would be an obvious tell, or like a limp. like that
Yeah.
type of thing, right?
Yeah, but then
But
like, yeah, but those situations, like those symptoms, like those could also be for other things too. Like it's not specifically like,
yeah,
oh, this person has a limp, or oh, this person is only using their left hand. Like, oh, they're immediately been shaken. But yeah, that could be like a tell.
yeah, because I know there are a lot of different, I don't, yeah, like diseases or disabilities, I guess. Like
Mhm.
my mom had Parkinson's disease, and
Yeah,
it was one of those things where it was like, if I didn't see her going through it, I probably wouldn't be able to recognize that anybody had it. Like if I saw somebody with
exactly.
it, like there's
Yeah.
the obvious kind of like shaking, but my mom didn't even have the shaking super bad, but like yeah, like if I just ran into somebody who was shaking or maybe had Parkinson's, like I don't even know for sure if, besides the fact that my mom had it, but before, like I don't know if I would
Hmm.
notice it. Same thing with like
Yeah.
MS or there's MS and then there's, I always get the other one, like MS mixed up with one, multiple sclerosis, and then
Multiple sclerosis, and then
do you know what I'm talking about? There's another one
I
that's kind of similar to it, like in the naming at least. Um
yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I can't put my
yeah,
finger on it either right now.
for some reason I always like mix up. I don't even know if they're similar in the disabilities, but just the names, I mix
Right.
up the names. But yeah,
Yeah.
like someone, my friend's wife has MS. I don't even know if I would notice with her. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of different disabilities where you don't notice. So I guess, yeah, what are some of the things that we can be doing, we that we should be doing as a society to handle it better, I guess. You know what I mean? And do you think I feel like we are kind of going in the right direction
I was gonna
with
say, yeah. I mean, are you
disabilities and
talking
stuff,
about?
right?
I was gonna say, are you talking about with disabilities in general, or like SBS, or because,
Probably
like, I,
disabilities in general, right? I don't know
yeah,
if there would
because,
be a big
yeah,
difference.
I mean, definitely there are ways to prevent SBS, and we can talk about that too. But for disabilities in general, like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people don't know how to handle it sometimes when they're asking about it. So, like, just be aware of how the person might react to your asking, because it's really weird, because sometimes like just be aware, because when I'm at work, like if for example I'm at work and sometimes my clients will ask about it, and they'll pry and they'll push, and like just be aware. Really, I think that's just the number one thing with any disability, just like because people, you're self-conscious about it already. um and if you're polite about it, like, that's fine, but, don't push, don't pry. If the
Yeah,
person,
be aware kind of
yeah,
like of what you're saying. Like make sure to
exactly.
not kind of say the wrong thing. And yeah, it's like I don't want to be like too honest, but it's like I'm trying to be as nice as possible and not say the wrong thing too. But
Hey,
sometimes I think
no,
that maybe people don't fully know.
yeah,
Um, but that's the whole thing, is that should be, people should know. You know what I mean? It's like I think we're getting to a point where like people should know not to say the wrong things to people. And I feel like we're going in the direction of people being nicer to, certain groups or whatever, as opposed to the other way. You know
right.
what I mean? And some people have like a problem with that, where they're like, I should be able to say whatever I want, but it's like, but you don't really want to, like, you shouldn't want to like offend people. You know what I mean? Like you shouldn't want to be able, with the whole free speech stuff going on right now in
Yeah,
politics
and
or whatever.
I think just free speech, that like you can be curious, and like it's okay to be curious because humans are naturally curious. But yeah, just don't be rude about it. That's
Yeah.
really it.
Yeah. And what about with your jobs and other stuff that you do, I guess, like are they good about
Yeah, so
the whole
I
situation?
mean, yeah, my job, like they have offered to get me like left-handed mice. They're like, "Hey, like is there anything that we can change about your office setting that would make it easier?" But like, and my managers and I keep in contact pretty regularly about it, but they know that I am capable, and I'm pretty capable at I don't like to toot my own horn, but I'm pretty capable at work. I take on a lot of responsibilities. So And they trust that I can, go to them if I have any issues. So, but yeah, I mean, they're really sweet about it. Like, and they know that I can, I will go to them if I have any questions or any problems. So,
Yeah, and then like when you apply for the job or any job, and same thing with college, like do they ask that question, and do you,
if I'm disabled,
or
or
yeah,
if I
whatever.
have any problems. Yeah, I mean, I mention
Yeah.
it. Like, I don't usually need like accessibility, like things. Like, I don't usually need like extra things to get by. Like I said earlier, it's really just I need the same things as other people, like I guess normal people, but I just need more time to go through it. And if once I learn how to do something, I catch on pretty quickly and I can adapt and it's fine. But it's just the first few times that I try something new that I need to try to figure out how to do it differently than other people. And of
Yeah.
course, there are going to be things that I can never do in my life because of it. And I was just talking to some people about that today with like driving or things like that. Like, I'm never going to be able to drive. I'm never going to be able to, like, there are so many things out there that I'm never going to be able to experience because of it. But, it's, I am who I am today because of it. And it sucks that it happened to me, but like, I try to be confident and enjoy my life and yeah, things like that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the driving. So you're not ever able to drive then?
So yeah, it's interesting because it's not even that like I'm disabled that I can't drive, because there's always going to be modifications that you can make to a car that will allow a person to drive. So it's not the physical aspect of it. It's the vision. Because I think like whenever they did like surgery, whenever I was shaken, it messed with like my vision as well as like the physical parts of my body or whatever. So when you're driving, you have like a field of vision that you can see. So when like people are coming from like off the street, like you can see them coming and you can stop in time for the car to stop so the person can cross the street. So on my left side, I can see everything just fine. Like if I do this, like I can see my hand, but if I'm over here, I can't see anything, which means that if somebody's coming off my right side and they're walking into my field of vision, it'll be too late before I can stop, and then it's just too dangerous for me to drive. So
So it
yeah.
affects the vision. You can't see at all out of your right eye then?
I can see it's weaker. It's not that I can't see, it's just that I can't see anything like past a certain point.
Okay.
If that makes any
Okay.
sense.
Yeah. And do you know if there's going to be maybe, things in the future that'll make it so that they fix that? Like I know like
I
for one,
mean,
like electric, like or self-driving cars and
I was just gonna say,
Elon Musk
yes.
stuff.
Yeah, self-driving cars are probably gonna be a thing. I mean, that would really be the only thing that I can think of, unfortunately, unless they make like something for like your eyeballs to be able to see further than you can, which doesn't make much sense. But yeah, I mean, that's really what I can, yeah, self-driving cars is really the only thing that I can think of that would fix that problem. But until then, I mean, I rely on the people around me. I rely on my family. I rely on my boyfriend. Like, and they don't mind driving me around, but it just, I don't like having to bother them, but they really don't mind doing it, which is really sweet of
Yeah.
them.
And there's no, I mean, obviously there's no, I'm assuming obviously that there's no glasses or laser surgery that you can get that would like fix
Yeah,
that.
so I'll be honest with you. I have basically exacerbated every single option that I have. Like, we have done a lot of research into this, my family and I, and unfortunately, I mean, right now it's not possible right now, but it might be in the future. So we'll see.
Like you've kind of like fought your way through it, right? Like you've
Oh
done everything
yeah,
you can to make it
and
as good as
yeah.
possible for, yeah, which is
Right.
good.
And if people look at me, like I am doing 99%, like I do everything perfectly. Like I would consider myself a normal human being outside of just like maybe I look a little different because of the, the stuff. But yeah, driving is really like the main thing that I just can't do no matter what. But again, it might change in the future. We'll see.
Yeah, and then there's also like the Neuralink thing, which I don't know. I don't know if you know about Neuralink, like Elon Musk's Neuralink. He has,
Yeah, I have
yeah,
heard about that, but I'm not sure if that's like an actual thing.
yeah, he has the company that's supposed to like. Sounds like you already know about it, but like, I don't even know what you call that. It's kind of like a like what is it called? Like, where like they put tech, I guess. I
Yeah,
can't
they
even
put
explain
like
it
they put
right
like the
now.
nodes on your brain and it's supposed to. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't really looked into it all that much, but I know what you're talking about.
yeah, and it's supposedly supposed to help people who can't talk and all sorts of things. Maybe I think even like blindness and stuff. I think it's
Yeah.
supposed to help them so that they can, the people who can't talk like can communicate, and the people who can't see might be able to see through like the tech in their brain. I don't
Yeah.
know enough about it
And
to say,
that's
but yeah.
like that's the other thing. Like technology is like it's everything's changing every single day. So there might be something out there that like this might sound like kind of ridiculous too, but like I don't know, maybe one day there's like a robot arm that you can like a glove that you can put on your hand and somehow it'll like match the nerves to your brain and it'll like you can move your hand all this and like I don't know, but like I said, like the physical part isn't the problem. It's just the vision. That's the main reason because I've tried to get a driver's license. Like I've gone to the DMV, I did the whole thing. I sat for the test, I did everything, and then when it came time for hey, we need to check your vision, that was the problem. So,
Yeah.
hmm.
What's funny is my vision isn't great, but I don't know. I feel like it's fine, but it's not great. And I thought I was gonna have to get glasses the last time I went to renew my license, and
Mhm.
so I went to get glasses, and it helps, but like glasses are weird to me, like because I'm so used to this vision. When I put them on, it like throws off my vision, just because
Yeah.
I'm not used to the glasses. But they ended up telling me that like I don't even, well, they didn't say I didn't need them. I think they just kind of like bypassed me. They didn't even like test it. They just kind of like gave like reissued me another one.
Yeah.
So luckily I'm actually a delivery driver for Amazon
Oh,
now.
nice.
After
Yeah, I was
all
gonna
this
say, what do
time,
you do?
I ended up being an Amazon delivery driver, but I mean, I do. There are things about it that I do like more than the office job, which is being out on the road. I do like to drive,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But yeah. So one of the things that I want to get into on this podcast in general, and I haven't really had anybody on for the most part to talk about this, but is how, and it sounds like you're treated just fine, like at your job, but how a lot of these jobs do treat their employees. And it's
Okay. So,
like my job, like as you probably know about Amazon, they're so, in my opinion, they're so tough on us that like we
right.
don't even have time to like take breaks to go to the bathroom. And it's like we're on the road, so even if we did have to go to the
Yeah.
bathroom, like you literally have to like stop somewhere that like and use the restroom.
I've
And it,
definitely heard horror stories. Yeah.
what's up?
I said I've definitely heard horror stories for sure.
Yeah. And so it's like I kind of want to get some people on, and it's just like just how people are treated in general in the workplace. And so I don't know about your thoughts on that, in terms of,
So
yeah.
yeah, so my workplace we get treated just fine, but I think right now, and a lot of people are struggling with this, we are so incredibly short staffed. So there are not enough people working, and then when somebody calls off, it's just like, boom, you gotta get you get work to the bone. So my office, we are open from 9 to 6. So we're open 10 hours well, we have to be there at 8 a.m. to open the branch. So I'm there most days, 10 hours, which is a long work day. It's, we still get 40 hours a week, but most days are 10-hour days. And then we have like shorter 1 or 2 days. And so right now we have separate tellers and bankers. And as a banker, I can't do a teller's job. And as a teller, they can't do my job. So we're kind of screwed because we have 3 full-time employees working as a banker right now. And if someone calls off, we have to, it is what it is. And I don't want to talk badly about my job or anything like that, but I think a lot of people are having this issue with just short staffing in general. And then, if someone calls off or if something happens, you'll have to work even harder because you're missing an entire body. But at my office, 2 of us are kind of quote unquote veteran status, which means we've been there for more than about a year. So we are pretty well tuned with everything in the branch. Like I train a lot of people. A lot of people ask me for help outside the branch. And I have my own set of clients that I basically help every time they come in. But it can be very toxic like it can sometimes, like if you're not careful, it can be a very toxic relationship because of, they expect us to work more and do more things than I guess like a new hire, because you're like expecting, they trust us and like they are expected, like we're expected to do our jobs. But I think short staffing is a big problem, not just at my job, but everywhere right now.
Yeah, and why do you think that is?
I think the pandemic changed a lot of things. It doesn't want, people don't want to go out and work anymore. And then, if you can work from home, people work from home, and service industry and like retail jobs are they're hurting right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mentioned Amazon, and then also there's Starbucks and all of them basically just seem like they're, like you said, hurting. And I don't know, I'm just kind of like an advocate for, it sounds like your job is in a good job with you, but in general, I'm an advocate for not treating employees badly, basically treating employees like with dignity. And I don't know if you heard too, it's like an even broader scope on Joe Rogan. He had a guy on who literally went to like the Congo, and he's a journalist. He went to the Congo and like saw with his own eyes child slavery and just basically slavery and just people being treated terribly, making $1 or $2 a day to get cobalt for iPhones.
I have heard about this. Yeah.
Yeah, and electronic cars need them too.
That's just appalling to me. Like,
yeah,
I just that I don't even know. Like, there's just no words to even describe that because it's nuts.
Yeah, and I think that we're to a point now, at least in America, where it's like we have to start doing something about it. And it's like I know that like I'll say this and then obviously still use my iPhone and hopefully I'll like delay on buying a new one, you know what I mean? But like
yeah.
At least in this country, like we have to start, in my opinion, treating employees better, paying them a wage that is livable in their area, and
but also just
everything,
respecting them in general, like you said before.
Them. Yeah. And like not everybody is able, like some people have the mentality that like everybody should be able to go out and get a job and make a ton of money, but not everybody is able to do that.
Right.
And
exactly.
Like you obviously are able to, you have a good job, but like there's a lot of people with different disabilities or not even disabilities. But yeah, going back to like the disability question too, like I remember I have like OCD, like obsessive compulsive disorder.
Same.
Yeah. And like I feel like I've handled it pretty well, especially more recently. But I remember a while ago when I was going through it, like having like really bad anxiety and everything, a company asked you, like, do you have any disabilities? And like it was like a list of disabilities, and then it said like OCD was one of them.
Yeah.
And I didn't put it, but it's like not bad enough for me to put it. But I was like literally like, I wonder if I should put this. And it's like, would that even be a good thing if I put it, or would it be a bad thing? I don't know. You know what I
That's a
mean?
really funny thing that you say that, because every single time I apply for a job, I don't know whether to put SBS as a disability, because if you read like on a job application, like what it says when it asks for a disability, it's like, hey, this is what constitutes as a disability. Does it affect you on a day-to-day basis? Do you need help at the workplace? Like, do we need to give you things to help you work? And I'm like, well, on the one hand, sometimes I do, but on the other, like, I'm fine. So like, do I say that I have a disability? Cause like, and then it's, yeah, so it's always weird for me because I just say that I do because I do. And then they meet me for an interview and they're like, ah, yeah, makes sense. But they always question, they're like, what is shaken baby syndrome? So like, yeah. It's funny that you say
Well,
stuff
yeah.
about like job applications, because you never see shaken baby syndrome on the list of disabilities on a job application. Like,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
never on there, right?
yeah,
And that's part of it is like getting like the word out, which is what you're doing. Because it's like if people don't even know what it is or have never heard of it before,
yeah,
then they don't know, how to handle it. But
yeah.
yeah, and then also like when you are applying for the job, you don't know like if, like I said, if I put this, like, does that mean like they won't hire me, or does it mean that
Right.
they will hire me and then like
Yeah.
treat me better, or not better, but like give
Yeah.
me what I need or whatever to work, you
Yeah.
know. But it's like I said, I mean,
But I
working at
guess,
Amazon, a lot of people just like it's almost like you're just too old if like you're like 50 or above. Like I couldn't imagine. Some people do it at 50, but like because there's so many packages, and like I don't know how a lot of these people, to be honest with you, a lot of these like smaller girls and stuff, or guys too, whatever, smaller people,
I
I
was
don't
gonna
know
say,
how they're able to like
mhm.
hold, like 50 pounds and like multiple
I
objects and bring them to the person's door. You know what
Yeah,
I
I
mean? Like
know I
it's
would
just
not be able to
like,
do it. I am 5'4" and like 100 pounds. So I feel like if I had to do what you did, I would think I would be done like a few days into the job. I'd be like, all right, cool. I can't do this anymore. Like, cause I work hard. I'm a hard worker, but when it comes to like lifting and carrying and things like that, like it's just too hard for me.
yeah. And then are there anything else you wanted to go over regarding shaken baby syndrome? Well, one thing I want to ask you too is with your family, how has things been? And do you also have any siblings who also have
So
it?
no, but I have a younger brother. Or no, sorry, I have an older brother. Oh my gosh. I have an older brother. He's in his 30s and he's just had a baby recently. So my nephew is a year and a half years old and he is like the most amazing baby. He's adorable. And I remember actually when they were like preparing for like his birth and whatever, like finding a nanny and like preparing the room and like trying to like baby proof the entire house. Um, Shaken baby syndrome was something that they really considered because his sister was shaken and they were like, okay, well, and a lot of people don't think about that when they have a kid. They're like, I mean, of course, like they want to keep the kids safe and stuff, but they really took that into consideration when they were trying to find their live-in nanny right now. Because I was actually shaken by a babysitter when I was younger. I think I forgot to mention that. But it was like a family friend, but she was also looking after me, so she was a caregiver. And so when they were like doing interviews and like trying to find people to help them take care of the kid, it was something that they really thought of like, like we really need to be careful about this because, what if we don't want the same thing happening to Hunter to happen that happened to Mindy. And I was something that I was actually really worried about too. Um, but a lot of parents, I feel like a lot of new parents don't like it's something in the back of their mind, like, don't like, hurt your child or don't shake your kid, but it's not really something that they think about it unless it really happens.
Yeah, like that's one thing that like I've actually had anxieties about is I don't have any kids, but like if I did, accidentally hurting the child or whatever, like, and it sounds like it can't
Exactly.
happen that way, and you have to be very careful to not, like, it could be a ton of different things, you know what I mean? Like you could accidentally drop the baby or shake the baby, or there's a ton of bad things that could just happen. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
driving in a car and get into an accident. It's like I would just feel horrible
Yeah,
if anything happened. So that is
of
something that's a
course.
very serious thing. Is yeah. And then with your family, like, are you I mean, obviously I'm assuming like you're like okay with them or whatever, but was there any kind of like issues you may have had with them, like, you know?
No, so another thing to note, my father actually died at a very when I was very young. He died from stage 4 cancer. So my mom basically had this thing happen. Like it was like, okay, my daughter was shaken, my husband's now has cancer and passed away. So she was like she had a very like I don't know if traumatic's the right word here. But she had to learn to, you know, be strong and like deal with all of that at once. So my mom's a very strong lady, and I think that's where I got some of that from myself. But she knew what she had to do, and she had to take care of me, and she did. So no, there wasn't any problem with my parents whatsoever, and in my family in general. And they know that I'm very capable, and they remind me every day. But they were always 100% beside me, like from day one, and so it was really nice having that support.
And like you never had any resentment or anything towards?
Oh, no, 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 absolutely not. I mean,
Yeah.
of course, like hindsight is 2020, right? I mean, you can't really do anything about it, and it's happened, and you have to learn to live with it. And I think we've all done really, I mean, I've considerably done very well with it, judging by all that I've accomplished in the 20 years that I've had it. But yeah.
Yeah. And then so you mentioned too that you yeah, I don't know if there's anything else, other things you wanted to cover about it, but if you want to go ahead. But you also mentioned that you're a gamer, right? A video
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. I do also want to mention something later on, that I've actually built a website around shaken baby syndrome, and it tells more about who I am and what's happened to me in more detail. And it's really just finding people out there who have similar experiences. And I think that's one of the main reasons why I was on Reddit in the first place, is just to spread the word about SPS and the organization that I'm trying to build. But yeah, that's something we can talk about as well. But yeah, I am a
You're
gamer.
trying to build an organization.
Yeah, so it's very beginning stages. I built a website for it. We have a little we have we're trying to get people involved, and we're just trying to find community members to talk about it. So on the website, it tells, you know, who I am, what we're about, and it has like a forum, so like people can go and like chat and and share their experiences. So, you know, if anybody's listening out there who has this experience, who has, you know, SBS, or who knows anybody who has, you know, go and check it out, and I'll drop the link and everything and all the information as well.
Yeah. And what is it called?
It's called Unbreakable, Unshakable, and of course, it's like I said, it's in its very beginning stages. Um, I'll
It's fine. If you want to send it to me later, you can. I
oh
just
yeah,
wanted to, yeah.
yeah, no, yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's called Unbreakable, Unshakable. And it's eventually gonna become a nonprofit, but we're still working on that. But it's mainly I want to build a support community around SBS, and just chat, and, you know, be there for people, because I didn't have that when I was younger, and I want to be there for not only survivors, but their families, caregivers, literally anybody who is curious. So
Yeah, it's good to have like a community, but it's like it's probably sucks to be, have a disability that like you think you're like the only person who has it, and you don't know anybody else who has it. So you, yeah.
Yeah, when I was younger, I thought about that a lot because I'm like, oh my God, like nobody knows what this is. Like every single time I talked about it, they're like, I don't know what that is. What is that? And it
Yeah.
felt like I was a little alone. Um, but I remember it's funny because my dentist, like literally the person that I go to that like cleans my teeth, she saw my medical history because they have to take that. And apparently her son had a very similar experience at like almost the exact same age. Um, and basically, as soon as she read that, it was like she completely like as soon as she's like, wait a minute, you had like brain damage, like you had like internal bleeding in the brain. That sounds a lot like shaken baby syndrome. And I was baffled because she knew exactly what it was. And like she's the kind of like mom who did all of the research, all of the everything to figure out how to like help her son. And we basically both like broke down in like the dentist's office because like it's just so rare to find someone with the same issue. And I was able to build this relationship with her and meet her son. And her son basically was like, hey, I got to meet someone who is exactly like me. And like that made me really emotional. So that kind of relationship is how that's why I'm starting what I'm starting, because I want to make more relationships like that. I want to meet more people, and I want to not only just like provide guidance and support, but like also just meet more people like me, because I feel like we can definitely help each other and learn more about each other.
Yeah. And then do you know how many people have SBS
And
in the world or whatever, or
I mean, of
percentage?
course, there's of course going to be like statistics. I mean, I can literally look on like Google right now and probably give you the numbers, but I know a lot of people, unfortunately, who don't survive from it. Like, I remember literally like just scrolling through like the news or something, or like maybe I was on Reddit, but like there were news articles that are like, oh, like blah, blah, blah shook like these two kids and now they're gone. And it's just like, it makes my yeah. So you hear about it on the news sometimes too, but like most people don't know what. I mean, a lot of people don't. A lot of kids don't survive. A lot of kids survive with permanent disabilities. I remember. Well, I don't remember because I was too young. But when my mom told me about it later on, when I was young, when I was older, um, she said, you were in the operating room. Mom and dad were really, really worried, and the doctor came out and literally prepared us for you to die or, suffer major, major injuries. Like basically, like I wasn't expected to walk, to talk, to do half do nothing. Like basically I would be a vegetable if I were to survive, is what he told them.
Wow.
And so they were like, yeah, you were a freaking miracle, because I was able to conquer all of that. And I think I forgot to mention this, but I actually in high school I ran varsity cross country. I was kind of,
Wow.
yeah, I was able to do 3-4 miles and just run track. So yeah, I would say I beat the odds, but like I said, it comes with a lot of mental, inside thoughts as well.
Yeah. And you were doing that like essentially like you had to run like kind of like with a limp, basically. Like you were.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't really seem like I had a limp. I mean, I definitely walk with a limp. I don't know about running. I also like don't run. I mean, I work out, like I go to the gym and stuff, but I don't do long distance running anymore. So I wouldn't really know how much that it has changed over the years. But in high school, yeah, I did long distance running for a while. I did varsity cross country, and then um track and field briefly as well. So
Okay. And then in terms of like well, yeah, then how much information, like if I was to like YouTube, I mean, I'm assuming Google would have a ton of information on it, but
oh
in terms of like YouTube, would you be able to like YouTube information about it
I'm not sure. I haven't actually tried, and it's funny that it's nice that you talk about Google. When you Google shaken baby syndrome or like anything
I
to do with
did, yeah.
SBS, literally, and you'll see this. All you can find is just what it is, how to prevent it, what are the symptoms, and like there are no um support groups, zero, absolutely none. And you don't
Yeah.
see like anything on, and like there are like national, I'm sure that I think they're like national like websites for it, like the National like Shaken Baby Syndrome Society or whatever. But there was actually a website that I came across when I was doing research for Unbreakable and Shakeable. Apparently there are like websites for like legal purposes, and like there are also websites for like funeral preparations, and I found that extremely morbid. um
Yeah.
and there's like nothing positive out there about this thing. It's like, oh, it's all about, hey, this is what it is, this is how you prevent it, and if you didn't prevent it, then here are things that you can do legally, and then here we are here to help you bury your child. And it's like, what? So I want to kind of do an, a spin on that to be like, hey, we're not going to do any of that. We're just going to have a conversation and build a community and just help each other. So
Yeah.
I just found that baffling when I Googled it, but that's what that, yeah, it's funny that you talk about that.
Yeah, and that is why it's probably such a good thing for you to be starting. Because not only do not a lot of people know about it, but then also it's probably a good business, even though you're probably not trying to make money, but like a business venture in terms of like there's not anything already set up. And in terms of the nonprofit thing, how does that work? Like,
So I
um,
am also still learning about that a lot. Like I'm doing a lot of research. I'm getting in touch with a lot of people who can help me, but it basically requires you to have board members. And then once have a board, you can go and actually like register to be a nonprofit organization. And from what I understand, there's like tax things involved too. So you have to, there are a lot of ways to do it. I'm still learning and finding my own way through it as well, but there are definitely requirements.
okay, but in terms of like when somebody says I have a nonprofit, like is it like is the goal still kind of like to make, well, I guess that would mean the goal isn't to make money,
Right.
but you still do, right? Like,
Right. So yeah, there's fundraising. So like the majority of money that you're making from a nonprofit is going to be through fundraisers. Um and so yeah, I think yeah, but it's more just like finding a way to make something known, to like, like raise money, to basically, I think nonprofits are, oh, excuse me. Nonprofits are used to really like spread the word about a certain thing, or like, make aware or things like that. But yeah, they definitely do make money. Um, because that's how like you keep things running, but it's mostly through things like fundraisers and like donations and things like that.
and is that kind of like your goal is to eventually kind of
Event.
be
Yeah.
the owner of that company and then
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I would of course be the CEO, and then we have like marketing, social media, fundraising, treasuries, and things like that. I eventually want to, partner with like schools probably, and like doctors' offices and stuff like that, just to um, make people aware.
yeah. And then I don't know if you already, if I already asked you in the beginning, like if you can explain what it is, or did you already do that?
I did kind of, there really isn't like a medical like
Yeah.
explanation for it. It's real. So shaken baby syndrome is when you take an infant or a toddler or like, a baby, and shake them. And it's really easy to do because babies are so small, and you know, and you, of course, like I think back to what we were talking about in the beginning of this podcast, if it's intentional or not, I feel like you really have to be intentional. Like it has to be intentional for you to really make any, you know, for you to actually do any damage, if that makes any sense. Like, so you have to like really shake the child. I mean, you're literally shaking it to, and then inside, because the brain is like, I think that, the brain is still like, it's hard to explain, I think sometimes, and I think this happens a lot. I can get a little weird about it, still after 20 years talking about it. But the brain is still like trying to form, and like the baby's, you can, it's whiplash and then a bunch of, so it's really easy to shake a child. It's definitely like, you don't mean to do it and it happens for sure.
Yeah, well, I could totally see that. You know what I mean? Like, because the baby is so small, like I was saying before, and it could it could happen easily. So people do need to be like, more aware of it and all that. But
And
so
I
yeah,
think, yeah,
I just
yeah,
wanted
I
to get
think,
that like clip out to, I think we already did explain it at the beginning, but I wanted to make
yeah,
sure we had like
yeah,
a segment that like covers it fully. So
yeah,
because
of
like,
course.
but some people might not know. Yeah. So
Absolutely. And I think like anger, like in ways to prevent it, I mean, there's always like, hey, step away from the situation, really assess the situation, and just, it's a baby, it's crying for a reason, and so I think anger management and like being able to step away from that situation can really help with that as well.
yeah.
So
So yeah, so I think we covered chicken baby syndrome for the most part. So yeah, if you want to go into anything else like the gaming, I'm actually not a gamer, so I don't know
oh
too much about it. But even though I have this gaming
um
headset, but you could
yeah.
definitely go into what you do
so
with it.
so gaming with disabilities is a very difficult thing to talk, like, it's, there are different ways to game with a disability. I mean, they have things, I guess we'll talk about my experience. So I play a lot of MMOs, massive multiplayer online. So basically you make a character, you have an overworld, and you can go and raise and like get loot and get gear and like, yeah. Um but it's most games out there are very two-handed. You have to have a hand on a mouse, or a hand on a mouse and a hand on the keyboard. And even when you're like console gaming, like you need both hands on your controller. So I mean, there are a lot of like ways to get around that. Like I have a controller, I have a regular controller, and then I have like a controller that can be used one-handed as well. And you can always get modifications on that. But with um the MMO Final Fantasy 14, a lot of people play it. It's very, very popular out there right now. And I could talk about it for forever because it's one of my favorite games. But when I first started it, I found a lot of problems with it. Like I had a lot of issues because it's a very, you have to have two hands to play it really. But there are things, like there are mice out there with buttons on the side, like it's called an MMO mouse, and you can like key bind different keyboard keys to it, and it works for me because you can literally, all you have to do is use your thumb. And um so gaming with a disability, especially mine, is there's ways to around it, but it's, with everything that I do, is come with adapting. And yeah.
And is there like a whole um like industry, or not industry, but like group of like gaming with a disability? Is it like seems like
Yeah,
a whole
there's,
thing?
I mean, I'm sure there are Discord servers out there for gaming with disabilities. I know that there are definitely subreddits out there with like one-handed gamers and things like that. Um, but I actually haven't found a community for that specific subset yet. But
Yeah, and
most of
then
the
I was
friends that
also,
yeah, go ahead.
I was also going to ask you about is there any subreddits for shaken baby syndrome?
There are not. I am
None at all.
actually, yeah, no, zero, like from what I looked. So I've actually looked into maybe starting one, and that's something on my to-do list. And then eventually, when I get my nonprofit up and running as well, I'll be creating subreddits and other social media platforms for that as well. But yeah, that's something, I mean, it's so, I think for a lot of related subreddits, like r/moms or r/ like new parents, or like, or things like that, um people talk about not shaken baby syndrome, like they ask about it, or like they talk about their experiences, but there isn't a specific, like one specific community dedicated to it.
Yeah, I feel like I felt like like when you mentioned it, I felt like I had heard of it before, but yeah, I didn't know much about it, but I had
Mhm.
at least heard of it and knew all kind of I knew that you should, it's something that could happen if you shake a baby too much. I feel like somebody has told. My sister's actually a physical therapist, so
Oh,
she
okay.
she probably has worked with
Mhm.
people who have it. But yeah, so in terms of the gaming, you said Final Fantasy 14.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I've
Yeah.
heard of Final Fantasy, and I don't know if I knew there was that many. There's literally like that many like
Well,
different versions of
they're
it.
making, I was gonna say they're making like 16 now. They're yeah. They're not MMOs, funnily enough. Final Fantasy as a series, they're like, are I people are probably gonna like make fun of me for this because I don't really know. I think they're RPGs, or maybe they're JRPGs, but they're not. But Final Fantasy 14 is the only MMO in the Final Fantasy uh franchise, I guess.
Oh wow, that's interesting that only one out
Hmm.
of 14 is that. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I want to say that like or I did actually talk to a girl on subreddit who wanted to she asked to be on the podcast, and like you did, and I was talking to her, and I want to say it was like, what was it again? The exact word, like SNRPG or something like that. Like, and I
Yeah.
think she actually
Yeah.
wrote RPGs. It wasn't even like gaming really. Like I think she like, and I was trying to like kind of like
Under understand.
understand what she was doing, and I
Right.
didn't fully. You know what I mean? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if I don't know what exact game you're talking about, but I mean, RPGs have a lot of different subsets too. Like there are like JRPGs, which are like kind of turn based, I believe. And then there's like just RPGs in general, where like you make a character and you go through the story and you can get like different kinds of loot and gear. And then they're eventually like they're bosses and you can beat the bosses. And there's always like a main storyline. But the thing with like an MMO, like there's always something to do. They're always putting content out, which is another reason why I really like that game, I think, is because I can keep playing it. Like there's never really an end. There's always something to do.
And it is all on computer based.
Yeah, so it's you could do it on it's yeah, computer, or I believe on console as well. So it's through Windows. You can get it on Steam, or you can go to like Square Enix, which is like the developer. You can go on their website and actually get it there. And then it's on Xbox and PlayStation as well.
Okay, the only type of gaming I don't even know if I'd call it gaming I do is like
Uh-huh.
poker. Like, do you know anything
Oh,
about
okay.
like online
Yeah.
poker?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I don't like. I think it can get really like I mean, I know there's like poker competitions and stuff like that, but I mean, yeah, that could be like, yeah, that's gaming.
It's definitely it's a very I think that it gets a bad name because it's technically gambling or whatever, but it's like a
Mhm.
very complicated game, and you have to be very smart to play, and not only smart but like disciplined.
Uh,
Like I mean, honestly,
yeah,
like
for
somebody like,
sure.
yeah, like somebody like you would, like somebody who's like mathematical would be really good at it, because um it's a thinking game. It's like probably the most thinking game I've ever played, and it's all mathematical for the most part,
Yeah.
psychological and mathematical. And so every situation you're in has to be kind of like, every situation you're in, so many different situations, and kind of like have to know what the right play is, like,
Hmm.
and the
Yeah.
bet size and all that. Have you ever played at all, even like for fun or anything, or
Um,
no?
I think my brother has tried to teach me and it just didn't stick at all. I'm like not really a big gambler either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I mean, like I said, it gets like a gambling a bad rep as a gambling, but if you're good enough at it, you can beat it.
mhm.
And that's kind of like where when I play, I'm definitely trying to win, and but I have actually played online in a while. So,
Mhm.
but in terms of the gaming for you, are you doing any type of like Twitch streaming or any type of streaming at all, YouTube or TikTok or anything like that?
So no. I did build my own PC last year. So I did the whole get the parts, build it. It's runs very well. I did look into Twitch streaming for a while. But honestly, I just with my work schedule, I just don't have the time and I just don't have the motivation to put in the effort right now because like I said, I have really long work hours and yeah. So it's something that I do eventually want to do. Um, but not right now.
Do you think there's any potential for like making money? Because obviously, people make money doing it. Like, do you think that
Yeah, no, I
you could
have
potentially make money?
friends. Yeah, I mean, I know people who definitely have been successful, but I think it's very luck based and you have to be really careful with it too because I mean, it's timings and things like that as well. But I know people who have been successful streaming on Twitch for sure, but I think it's very luck based and you just have to get lucky.
What's like the luck factor? Do you think? Like, just
Um, I don't know, maybe like having having built a reputation somewhere else and then maybe like bringing people into it once you like switch like platforms or just, being really good at what you do, like being really good at gaming and just getting followers, really.
but
And I think that's what
it is skill based gaming, right? So like,
Mhm. Yeah.
if you got good enough,
You could probably
it could
attract
probably like,
attention. Yeah.
yeah. But obviously, I see what you're saying. There is a lot of, I think the luck also would come in like,
Because I mean, you
so
could
like
be
how
really
like,
good. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. You could
like
be
I think a
really
lot of
good
it
at
would be, yeah.
it. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I would think that a lot of it would be like the luck factor would be where I totally understand is like the how good you are or whatever on camera, or you know what I mean, or like
Yeah.
what's the word for that? Like you have to be like really like outgoing and like whatever.
Yeah,
And
because you have to
yeah,
interact with your chat. You have to,
yeah.
yeah. One of my coworkers is actually trying to do that exactly. Like he's got a Twitch channel and he like every single, you know, Tuesday or Friday or whatever, he'll go out and he'll go on and try to like game like he'll stream for like a few hours and try to like get affiliate and stuff like that. But from what I heard from him, like it's very difficult because I mean, unless you're like, even when you're super good at the game or whatever, like there just isn't a chance that you might not even like get anybody to watch you either. So,
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Because like I'm on Instagram too, so I also
mhm.
post pictures on Instagram. And I'm doing YouTube and I'm doing TikTok too, and it's a hard, definitely a hard thing to do in terms of making money. I do make a little bit of money right now on Instagram, a
Mhm.
small amount, but I would say like, and even people will tell me that like I am like, oh, like I think my videos, I'm doing like reels. I don't know if you know about reels and
Yeah, I do.
TikToks and all that.
Yeah.
I assume you knew TikToks, but I don't know if everybody knows reels yet. But
I yeah, I use TikTok quite a lot. I don't post, but I'm on it a lot. I watch a lot. I don't use Instagram as much, but I am familiar with what that is. Yeah, but I'm more familiar with TikTok, I think.
yeah, I actually personally like reels better than TikTok. It could just be because I started on Instagram, and when I've gone
Yeah,
over to TikTok,
you were
I
just
think
it's
that
new.
it's new, and I don't really like the user interface, especially like when posting and stuff. And it doesn't seem to, like, I know everybody says that the algorithm is really good, but it doesn't seem to know me yet. But that's probably because I'm not on it enough for it
Right, I was gonna
to,
say it's probably because you're not using it as much. Yeah.
yeah. So but yeah, with Instagram, with the reels thing, is I would say that I'll post stuff that in my opinion is just as good as somebody else, but they'll get like 5,000 likes and I'll get like 100,
Yep.
and I don't
That's
know
the
what's
luck.
going on.
That's the luck.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like,
Yeah.
but then I'm like, maybe there is something that they're doing. Like maybe they know more about how the algorithm works. Maybe they're posting at the right time. I have no clue. You know what I mean? What they're doing, but
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to help you with that,
yeah,
unfortunately.
or maybe they're just maybe they are just better. But yeah, in terms of streamers, do you watch who are some of the people that you watch?
Yeah, so I only watch one guy. He worked for a company on YouTube. Actually, they are mainly they post everything on YouTube. They are known, and they're pretty big with gaming. But they're known as Rooster Teeth, and they have a lot of podcasts, animated series, and they do a lot of gaming on YouTube. And there's a guy that worked for Achievement Hunter, which is he is like Achievement Hunter is like a sector of Rooster Teeth. And there's a guy that used to work there and produce videos and like edit and stuff. And then he moved on to Twitch to do full-time streaming. And he's actually one of the main people that like moved from that company to Twitch streaming like full time, and he blew up. Like he was so good. Like I don't know if it's because they already had like a viewership on YouTube already and he just brought people over to watch him, but he is one of those people that like went from zero to like the top. So yeah, but I don't actually usually watch Twitch streamers all that much. I mainly just watch YouTube. I don't use social media as much as I used to anymore either. Like I'm really only like on Discord, and that's really the only thing that I use other than like that and TikTok.
Yeah, that's that's a whole nother like world that I like. Whenever I've tried to use Discord, it just hasn't gone good. Like I don't understand how to use it, and it like kind of annoys me because like you have all those different like servers, I guess.
It depends on what you're trying to do with it. Yeah, because you could make your own server, which is also really hard to get traction on, or you could join a server and then, but like when you join a server, they're like, you could have like 5 million channels in it and you're just like so overwhelmed. But I mean, I usually only use Discord for my personal, like I keep in touch with my college friends. So we have like a Discord gaming server. And then the other thing is for whenever I'm doing stuff on Final Fantasy 14 with my group there. So like that's really the only times I use Discord. But yeah. It can get very confusing.
Money? Can you make money at Discord? No, there's no monetization at all.
No, there's zero monetization. It's really just building a community, or just keeping up with friends. There really isn't any way to make money on it. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of it, and if I was able to use it, or if I mean, obviously I could learn how to use it, and I probably should. But I like the idea of it, and I probably should use it more to get involved with groups. But I went on one. I found like a poker group a while ago on, I think it was Reddit or YouTube or something, and I went on it, and like, it was fun like while I was on there. But then it was like I was kind of like messing around. Like I kept bringing up like professional poker players' names, and I just was like trying to get like a rise out of them, like trying to get them to like talk about them or whatever. And
right,
I wasn't like trolling in the sense that I was being mean, but I was kind of just like messing around and having a good time. But I'm like, I know none of these people, yeah, on the internet,
yeah.
And after like it was fun while I was on there, but at the end, I'm like, I just feel kind of like weird talking with like a bunch of people I don't know, and I kind of felt like the outsider, like pretty quickly. You know what I mean? They were like, kind of like goofing on me, and I'm like, dude, like I'm getting like troll, and now I'm getting trolled. That's like a big reason why. That's like a big reason why I don't really do it. Like I'm on the internet a lot, and I like to even know what's going on Twitter and Reddit and everything. But like I don't really want to get all caught up in like commenting in the comment section where people start getting into arguments, and I'm like, why am I wasting my time doing? You know what I mean? Like why am I wasting my time talking with people?
Sometimes I love looking at comments because all of the drama is in the comments.
Oh yeah. I like looking at it, but I don't really want to add to it.
You don't want to add to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would if I was a really good troller, or if I had like friends, and trolling in like in a nice sense. I'm not going to be mean, but like,
right. Yeah.
If I had friends to do it, but I'm like, I'm not going to like waste my time trolling on like Twitter or whatever. And what am I getting out of it? Like nothing, unless I can somehow like monetize the like that. But So yeah, I try and stay away from talking with, for the most part, talking with strangers on the internet. And I mean, honestly, like if I'm going to talk with someone, I'd rather do it on a podcast like
I
this. You know
was
what I
just
mean?
gonna say your
It's
entire
just,
podcast is based around talking with strangers.
but
But I mean, yeah,
that's
I know,
the
I gotcha.
thing. Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
thing is it's like I'm literally having like a real conversation with you. As you know, people are different
Yeah.
on the internet. Or no, I mean on like right now. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I wouldn't want to chat with you online, but like
I
that's
gotcha.
essentially what you're doing. Like you're just, and also I know what you're coming, I don't know, I know what you're coming on to talk about. Not only that, but I do
We've
want to,
talked beforehand, is what you're trying to say.
yeah,
It's not
uh,
like you're being, yeah, I gotcha.
just talking with random people. And
Yeah.
also I like doing the podcast. But anyways, yeah. So the one guy that the only guy that I think that the only guy that I think that I know of on Twitch is, and by the way, like that, my thing came up saying, okay, so whoops, I'm at 9%.
Oh,
So
okay.
I don't know if you want to like end it soon, anyways, or if we probably
Yeah,
should, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
probably. Yeah. And we can edit all this out, I'm sure. But yeah, no, it's probably within the next 20 minutes or so, because
yeah, yeah,
I'm probably gonna be making a late fast food run here to get some food as
yeah.
well. Yeah.
It's late there. So
Yeah, I was gonna
yeah.
say
So
it's
really,
almost midnight. Yeah. Anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
I'll just go over this and then we can wrap it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So the only
yeah.
guys that I know of on Twitch that are gamers, but more like political guys,
Oh.
are or is Haas. I want to say Hasnabi, but Hassan Piker. Do you know
Mhm.
Hassan Piker? You
I've
know what I'm
heard of
talking about?
him. Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's like a. I think he's from what I know of him, he's more of a political guy, but he also does game and he's like a socialist type. But then I also listen to H3 podcast. I just recently gone to the H3 podcast. Do you know about that at all?
No, actually, I haven't heard of that.
So that's like more of like a podcast, and it's like what I listen to is it's Ethan Klein and his wife Ela Klein, but what I listen to is Ethan Klein with Hassan Piker, and they're mostly just talking shit on like Republicans, basically,
Nice.
but like really like alt right types, you know what I mean, like the
Yeah, I gotcha.
extreme groups, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
so I recently got into him because of that. I'm more of like a podcast guy than like watching the streams. But yeah, so I don't know if there's anything else you want to go over, but the last questions that I usually ask is what podcasts are you into? And then also movies, TV show, and even music. If there's, and then also to plug your, because you don't have a podcast on your on
No,
right.
no. That's I might eventually get one or start one, but yeah, no, I don't have a specific podcast, but yeah, I could plug my my website for sure.
Yeah.
In
Do you have like a YouTube
terms,
channel or anything or anything where you talk
I
about it or no?
I don't, and this is, like I said, this is all in the beginning stages, and I will eventually. But if yeah. But as far as podcasts, a lot of podcasts that I listen to are like D&D podcasts. I listen to the Rooster Teeth podcast and Rooster Teeth Productions, like a lot of the stuff that they do. In terms of like movies and like TV shows, I'm a big Harry Potter fan. I love Harry Potter. We actually I'm starting to rewatch all of the Harry Potter stuff, and I'm the Fantastic Beasts prequels as well. And I like Star Wars. And starting to get into Lord of the Rings. My boyfriend and I started watching it. They're really long, and I enjoy them, but I don't think 4 hour movies are for me. But
Yeah.
maybe I'll give it another shot. But no, yeah. And then as for music, I mean, I listen to literally everything. Music is my life. Everyone makes fun of me because whenever I'm not at work or doing something important, like I'll always have my AirPods in and I'm listening to music or listening to a podcast. But I listen to literally anything. But my favorite band is 21 Pilots, and they're very they can be very depressing, but they're like also like he has a very unique voice and his lyrics are very deep, and I enjoy his stuff.
Yeah.
But
I like I like them, and
Mm,
they're also like, I think they're also like Christian, aren't they? So it's even though it's like can be depressing, it's also
I
kind of like
I think
uplifting, right?
so. I think so Tyler is the singer and then Josh is the backup like drummer.
The drummer, yeah,
Yeah, I think Tyler is Christian, but I don't know about Josh. I think you're right though. But a lot of their
yeah,
stuff, if you like listen to it, like their 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 lyrics are really good.
yeah. They're definitely good, and I saw like them doing like a live show on YouTube, and it was like really well done. How the fact that there's only two of them and like they're
Yeah.
able to do both things, like do
Absolutely,
all everything.
yeah. They
Yeah.
were in Pittsburgh recently. They were in Pittsburgh in August, and it was like the first time I had been to one of their concerts since before the pandemic. So it had been like 3 years since before the pandemic, and I was just like, yeah, it was really great.
You saw them 3 years before the pandemic, so it was like
Well,
2000.
I saw them in 2018 when they came for their then newest album, and then Scaled and Icy, their now newest album, just recently dropped. And then that's when they were in town in August just to promote that album. But yeah, I really like their music.
Yeah, and then what nationality are you? Just out of
So
curiosity.
yeah, no, I am Chinese. So
Okay.
I guess I should have mentioned this before, but I speak fluent Mandarin as well. So I am bilingual. I speak English and Chinese, and I have a lot of family in China. So whenever we go back and visit it, well, we went back and visited before the pandemic, but I can speak both languages pretty fluently, and I can switch between the two if I need to pretty fast. So whenever I'm home
Okay.
with my family, whenever I'm home with like my mom or like my uncle or my aunts, like it'll just be Chinese. And then around like my friends and my work and things, like I'll speak English, obviously.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just wondering that. And then all right. So yeah, thanks for coming on, Mindy.
Of
And
course.
it was great learning about this. And I'm
Oh, thank you so
trying to
much
get the
for
word
having
out.
me.
Yeah, no problem. And yeah, so just send me the link to your website and everything else. And if you ever want to come back on, just let me know. We can maybe cover some other topics. I tell that to all my guests. So
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, hey, thanks so much for having me. This was such a great experience. And thanks for yeah, thank you so much. And I'll get you everything that you need in a moment here.
yeah. Okay, cool. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.